today, veterans. All of that work it's just been amazing to me to experience seeing people come together in our community to meet the needs of our community through the VOA. So I'm so glad to welcome all of you to this second virtual tour. I participated in the first virtual tour a couple of weeks ago, and I was just amazed, as I mentioned to some folks yesterday, the fact that we're doing these tours on a virtual platform just meets the VOA's mission to go wherever we are needed and to do whatever comes to hand. And so now we're going to your homes virtually to bring you to and introduce some of you to the work that the VOA does. And so welcome, and I'm glad that you're all here today to participate. Thank you, Tricia. And now I'm gonna hand it off to Chuck.
Thank you, Jerry. Can you hear me, Tricia?
Yes, we can.
Good, great. I appreciate it, Jerry. Appreciate your comments, and let me, on behalf of the organization, again extend my appreciation to you. Jerry came on the board. We have term limits, so he went off and let it be known that he would like to get back and serve with us. So Jerry, we appreciate that, and he not only has served in an officer capacity, Jerry has worked face-to-face with Lighthouse kids in the past, and we appreciate his service. Jerry mentioned go wherever we are needed and do whatever comes to hand, and that is exactly what our founders, Maud and Ballington Booth, said in March of 1896 when at a press conference in New York City to announce the founding of Volunteers of America. When asked, what is it that the volunteers will do? Their response was, we will go wherever we are needed and do whatever comes to hand. And immediately what the founders did is they began sending commissioned and ordained ministers all over the country to carry out the ministry of service of Volunteers of America. The Church of Volunteers of America continues today, and as our good dear friend, Dr. Don Webb, who is the past president of Centenary College, ordained Methodist minister, he said, the Church of Volunteers of America is a church without walls. The most important thing that happens in that church is what happens in your Lighthouse programs, your communities and school sites, and what you're going to hear about today at this virtual tour, as Jerry mentioned, we are focusing on our veteran services, and you're going to get to learn a lot more about that. Before we get to that, though, I'd like to share just a bit more information about our organization. We found our way to Shreveport in 1935. We opened a shelter for women and children on Texas Avenue, right where the 911 Center is located today. That was the very first program of Volunteers of America. And 85 years later, our special ministry of service is more needed than ever in the communities that we serve. In some ways, but not all, our services have looked quite different since last month when the shelter in place was ordered by our governor. We continue to operate 24-hour facilities. We continue to have staff who work with some of the most vulnerable individuals in our community, those with severe and chronic disabilities. And what I'm so incredibly proud of is that for those staff who work in those 24-hour facilities and those who work face-to-face, not one employee has refused or opted not to come to work. Now, we did have to counsel with one of our employees who has some pretty significant underlying health conditions not to come to work. But again, Volunteers of America employees have been on the job each and every day, serving some of the most vulnerable people we serve. Our organization, we've got some challenges ahead. We started this fiscal year, July 1, with a budget close to $17 million. And that's what it takes to provide all the services that we provide for children and families in poverty, for homeless veterans and families, for people with severe and chronic disabilities, and for senior adults. The the total amount of our budget was $17 million. The majority of that we receive in government support, but the difference between what it cost us to do all of what we do and what we receive from government, when we put the budget together, we projected a gap of $2,350,000. I'm pleased to share with you today that we've received $2,153,724 towards that $2,350,000 gap. The other thing I'll share with you is that gap was a budget projection, and unfortunately, the gap has grown since we've had to deal with the COVID-19 situation. In looking to the future, we realize that the needs of those we serve will increase dramatically. There are great challenges for individuals living in poverty, and that is who Volunteers of America serves. And those needs are growing and are going to grow in the weeks and months to come. And then, frankly, we all know that the health of our economy has been affected. And we're concerned about our support going forward, whether it be from government or from our private investors and donors who support our special ministry of service. In the year 2020 and beyond, what we're committed at Volunteers of America doing is we're going to honor what our founders said in 1896. We're going to determine what needs to be done. And if we are the right organization to address it and to find the partners to work side by side with us, we're going to continue to do what needs to be done for children and families, for homeless veterans, for the disabled, and for senior adults. Thank you for joining this tour today. We appreciate each and every one of you carving out time in your day to be with us. And now let's get on to why you really joined today, which was to learn more about our veteran services. And it's my pleasure to introduce to you Gary James, who in August of 2010 came to his senses and came back to Volunteers of America. He had been with us when I joined the organization nearly 32 years ago, and Gary came back as our Director of Veteran Services, and he's going to lead us through the rest of our tour today. Gary?
Thank you, Chuck. And of course, when I came to the agency, I was 12 years old the first time. So that having been said, thank you. Chuck, I'd also like to echo what you've said. I'm so appreciative of all the staff that come to work every day to work with our veterans. I just could not be more thrilled with my coworkers and just really privileged to work with them. We're going to be moving to a slideshow here in a minute, and the first one that's going to come up is going to be kind of a timeline of our veteran services and kind of the arc of how we started. I'm pleased to say that everything that you see here today on this screen is fully operational. We have not stopped operating anything. Our Veterans Transitional Living Home is fully operational. Our Supported Services for Veteran Families is open, our Safe Haven is open, and even our Veterans Court is open, which is going to be addressed a little bit more length later. But talking about initially our Veterans Transitional Living Program, it's a program that provides support for 46 men that are either homeless or at risk of homelessness. We provide intensive therapeutic support. We do in-house group meetings. We do intensive medication management. We do drug testing. We require our veterans to have savings. We work very closely with the VA Medical Center, which provides 2 liaisons that work with us on a daily basis. And we're exceptionally close. We've got exceptional outcomes considering the population that we work with. 59% of those that we've served have moved to permanent housing in just our last fiscal year that we collected data on. Just as a quick side note, what we try to do is a lot of our veterans that come through the program, our goal is for them to move into permanent housing, but also to obtain employment. So it's important for us to provide employment for those folks that need employment. And so I'd like to share Greg's story real quick. Greg was one of our successful graduates that went through the program a couple of years ago. He reached out to me probably 3-4 months ago, and he is a cook, and we were in desperate need of a cook. And so he's been hired, and he's now one of our colleagues. So I'm pleased to say that. Completely opposite of our veterans transitional living program is what's called Safe Haven. It's a low impact, low barrier shelter. I don't want to say it's completely opposite, because we still provide intensive supportive services for those folks, but our goal is to reach those folks that typical shelters won't accept, because they may be active in their substance abuse, may be active in a mental health issue that's not being addressed right now. Our goal is to bring them in off the streets, to provide them with housing, to provide them with food, and to slowly engage them in hopefully either getting directly into housing or getting into more supportive housing. And our outcomes in that program, considering the population, have been extremely successful. We've had a 93% success rate in that particular program. The next program that we had that the VA came up with, which I think is one of the most innovative that the VA's come up with in a while, it's support services for veteran families. And what it does is it allows us to deploy resources, and by resources I mean money, in two separate components. One is homeless prevention, which is what we're able to do is we're able to use funding to continue to house people in the places they live. If somebody maybe has a dramatic loss in income or something significant has happened in their lives and they're about to lose housing, we're able to step in and pay rent and utility bills. And as you can imagine, that's much easier than trying to rapidly rehouse somebody. And currently in this environment, obviously our services and service requests have increased dramatically in that particular vein. The VA's been great about really coming out with new guidance and really waiving just a lot of the initial requirements when the program started. The second component of that is rapid rehousing. Those are for people that are currently experiencing homelessness and that need immediate placement right away. And the way that we're able to do that is by paying first month's rent, security deposit, providing case management, helping with housing placement and locating housing. Just a really, really quick example of what happened is right after COVID happened, there was a family of 4 that were out on the streets in downtown Shreveport. And I got a call one evening, and this family was literally looking at a hotel. Well, SSVF gives us the flexibility to go ahead and place somebody in housing. I was able to get them in a hotel, and with my other colleagues, got them on the phone, and we worked as a team. We were able to find them housing, get their furniture moved, get them fully housed, and even provide food in less than probably a week. And you can imagine trying to do all of that virtually was a challenge, but I think that everybody in the organization rose to that challenge. So I'm exceptionally proud of that. And that's just one story of very, very many that we're doing right now. Lastly, that we're going to talk about today is our Veterans Treatment Court. This is a partnership between Overton Brooks VA Medical Center, Caddo Parish District Court, and the Department of Corrections. This kind of came about as a discussion through our other programs where we're trying, people have been through our programs and have done absolutely everything that they needed to do. But one of the issues that came up that we found when it was ready for folks to move on to get into housing or to get a job was there might have been some criminal record which prevented that. And Veterans Court allows people that are facing those charges to go ahead and plead guilty, to accept responsibility for that, and attend our Veterans Court program that really provides an intense amount of support, oversight, and as well as drug screening, counseling. We actually even do yoga therapy, which is interesting. A lot of folks like it. Some people don't, which is fine. But it's been exceptionally successful, and we've had quite a few graduates over the years. And it's a 14-month program. But I think to better address this, I'm going to hand this off to Judge Craig Marcotte, who can discuss more about his perception of and his experience of what this has been about. Judge?
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fantastic. I want to thank y'all for attending this. The Veterans Court program is, I think we were the second or third in Louisiana to start this program. And it's a wonderful program to help those who have given so much for this country and so much for us. It's a program where most of them have substance abuse issues, not all of them, and you'll hear from one in a little bit. But these are veterans who have had a brush with the law and have a criminal record, which prevents them from, in a lot of cases, getting good jobs, housing, etc. So what this program does is, as Gary says, it's a 14-month program, and there are different phases to it. And the program allows that veteran to go through counseling, drug treatment, housing issues, pretty much the gamut that they're facing, the gamut of problems that they're facing, to successfully complete this program, to get their record expunged so that they can get a good job, can get good housing, etc. Frankly, without the VOA's involvement, the program would not exist, because they're the ones that fund it. And I want to say thank you to all the donors who make this possible, because without Volunteers of America involvement, it wouldn't be here. We've had a number of graduates and a number of interesting people that have come through. Some people have come through that didn't have housing. They were sleeping under a bridge for 10 years. Now they have a full-time job, a very good job, and they have an apartment. We've got other veterans that have come through the program that have graduated, now working for different agencies, providing help to others as well. The program deals with the entire person, not only financial, housing, substance abuse, emotional and physical injuries as well. A lot of them come through with PTSD, and that's addressed as well. With the partnership with the VA, who provides a lot of the counseling, and the Volunteers of America, it's been a very successful program. I've seen people that have been heroin addicts that are now computer gurus. And I can't attest to what a computer guru is, but I know they're a lot more in tune with this stuff. I've just learned how to Zoom yesterday, basically. But these people are incredible at what they do. And we've had so many people that have graduated from this program, have good jobs, have stable housing, that wouldn't be but for the generosity of the, I don't know why my computer's doing this, but let me do this real quick, sorry. But it wouldn't be possible but for the generosity of the donors and the Volunteers of America. You'll hear from one person, Dylan, who is in the program right now, and Dylan has made great strides. And at this point in time, I'll turn it over to Dylan to tell his story.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dylan Hemrich, and I'm a 23-year-old Marine Corps veteran, currently going through the Veterans Court program. And I'll tell a little bit about myself. I got out of the Marine Corps in August of 2018. And shortly after, probably about 6 months later, I got into some trouble with the law. I was suffering through some mental things from the military, as well as alcoholism. that I guess I was using to cope with things that I was going through. So with that going on, I didn't even know at the time that I was having these mental issues or that I even had an alcohol problem. But I think those things led up to me getting into this program, which turned out to be a very good thing. But I'll explain what I did. January of 2019, I think it was, I have a motorcycle and I ride very often. And that day I was riding home from my girlfriend's house and I saw a police officer behind me trying to stop me, probably for some small traffic violation, such as speeding or something. But instead of stopping, I decided to run. And as most of everyone in here probably knows, running from a police officer in a vehicle is a felon. And I was charged with aggravated flight from an officer. And at that point, I thought, you know, I'd ruined my life. I have this felony now. I'm 23. I'm young, like way too young to have a felon charge. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I was going through school at the time as well. And I immediately thought, you know, I'm going to graduate from school and it's going to be pointless because no one's even going to want to hire me. But fortunately enough, my lawyer found out about Veterans Court program, and it actually gave me a second chance to, you know, redeem myself for a stupid mistake that I made and go through this program that has helped me tremendously. I've changed so much in a year, which is really a short time, than I've changed probably in my entire life, and for the better, for sure. I don't miss who I was a year ago, and just the people in this program, such as Judge Marcotte, who genuinely care about the veterans that go through this program and are here only to, you know, help veterans succeed and want to see them, you know, redeem themselves from the mistakes they've made and get rid of their felony charge and move on and just live a better life, help them overcome their drug problems, help them overcome any mental problems that they're going through. Speaking on that, like a year ago, when I was going through all these mental issues that I didn't know I was going through, when I came into this program, I was recommended to see a psychiatrist and a psychologist, and I've seen them every week since, so for a year, and that has helped me a tremendous amount, just talking to someone and having people in the program, such as other veterans who can relate to the things I've gone through. One of the best things about the military was always, you know, the camaraderie. You always had fellow veterans going through the same things you're going through, and they are pretty much your family. You spend all your time with them. And when I got out of the military, that's something I really missed. And now I get to see fellow veterans all the time in this program with me who have experienced the same things and are going through the same things. And I've met people in this program that I feel like even after I graduate and get past this part of my life, you know, they'll be there for me later on, like, and I'll be there for them. I've met people in this program, even who aren't veterans, that I just feel like I can call a friend, and it's such a good environment. And Judge Marcotte is such a fantastic person, a fantastic judge. I see people who have graduated the program and months later come back just to say hello to him. And, you know, that it's just a great program having, and it's great to have a second chance. And I'm just thankful. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Dylan. And I think you and Judge Marcotte forgot to mention how much you enjoy yoga. So that being a substantial part of it, at this point, I think we'd like to hand it off to Shelby McCarty to kind of wrap things up, and then we'll follow up with any questions.
Yes, thank you, Gary. And thank you, Dylan, for sharing. We're so happy to see your success. My name is Shelby McCarty. I'm the Community Engagement Coordinator for Volunteers of America North Louisiana. And this morning, I just wanted to share some ways that the community supports the veterans that we serve in our programs. We're so grateful for these partnerships, whether they are with local businesses, churches, or individuals, because they do so much for those that we serve. As you can see on the slideshow, we have a partnership with our local Home Depot store. This has been an ongoing partnership for 10 years. They have a campaign called the Celebration of Service campaign. And over the years, they have done things like install new floors in our veterans' home. They've also built a storage shed for our veterans transitional living facility and much more. And these projects are completed by local Home Depot staff. And so we're so grateful for their support each and every year. We also have several local churches who support our veterans in different ways. And one of the main ones is by providing monthly meals. Churches like St. John's and the University Church of Christ do this each month, and they provide a prepared meal for our veterans and also spend some time with them building those relationships. We also have several partners who are individuals who volunteer with us. One of them you can see in the top picture here. His name is Lonnie. He's a local CPA who came to us and said that he wanted to give back in some way, and he thought the best way that he could give back was by providing a skill. And so as a CPA, what he did was work with our veterans and taught them accounting skills, something to boost their resume, to bring to a future employer, and for them to use in their careers. We also have a family called the Shoops who were partners with us. They recently have been stationed to Alaska, but we're so thankful for the work that they did with us over the years. And one of the main things that they did was we have a seasonal garden located at our Veterans Transitional Living Facility that our kitchen and our men who live there use. And the Shoop family would come and maintain that garden, to replant, to clean it out, and keep it functional for our guys to use. And then also one of our board members and his wife, John and Tanya Katz, are great partners of ours. Them and their friends and families come together each year to provide Christmas parties and other parties for our veterans at our Safe Haven location, as well as our Veterans Transitional Living Facility. And these parties are one of my favorite things to go to throughout the year, because it's so great to see the community support our veterans, and you can see them light up as they connect with people in the community and see that people see them and want to give back to them. And so these are all great ways that you and our community can get involved through volunteering, maybe when things are back to normal, whenever and whatever that may look like. But these are great ways to involve our community in the work that we do with our veterans. They're meaningful, they mean a lot to those that we serve, and it's a great way to give back to those who have given so much for our country. And so at this time, I'm going to hand it back over to Tricia, and we're gonna enter our Q&A session.
Thank you so much, Shelby, and thank you to everyone who has participated in this tour. At this time, we're going to start with the questions that were in the chat bar that's located at the bottom, the chat box. And everyone, there's been a lot of great sentiments of how well everyone has done. And Dylan, thank you so much for sharing your story. There's so many comments about wishing you the best. And one question we do have, well, we have a couple for you, Gary. Lori wants to know how many people are in the Veterans Treatment Court, and is there a waiting list for that program?
Currently, Judge, and correct me if I'm wrong, we've got about 17 to 18 that are currently active in Veterans Court. What we do is, part of the costs, what we do, the veterans pay part of the cost of their drug screens, and Volunteers of America of North Louisiana picks up the rest of it. But right now, if you look at it on an annualized basis, it costs us roughly about $2,000 per year per veteran.
Thank you, Gary. Judge, did you want to add anything to that? No? Okay, we're gonna move on. Well, perhaps, oh, hold on. Okay, Judge, I believe you're
Yeah, I'm sorry.
unmuted now. Sorry,
Look,
you're unmuted now.
Gary, you are much more technologically savvy than I am. How about that? No, Gary is correct. We have to pay for the yoga therapy, drug screens. Housing is a part of it as well as MRT therapy, et cetera. So there's a lot of financial components that go into it. At the present time, we are trying to help as many veterans as we can. We have a fairly large veteran population here, and we started this program years ago, and it's still taking on new members. We try to get as many as we can involved to try to help those who have helped us so much. So we want to thank Volunteers of America for their help, as well as the Veterans Administration, as well as the clients. And Dylan, you did a fantastic job, son. Very proud of you.
Okay, Dylan, sorry. I could see you were speaking. You're unmuted now.
Oh, I was just saying thank you, Judge.
Okay, are there any other questions? If so, please type them in the chat bar, or you could even just ask to be unmuted, and I will unmute you so that you can ask your question.
I just want to share real quickly, Tricia, we're looking at other options for additional funding for Veterans Court. So, so we're not so reliant upon, governmental money, but that's something that we're currently in discussions with and doing grants. But as probably everybody's aware right now that under the current circumstances, everything is just kind of in flux. So, but this is something that's, from my perspective, so valuable that we want to continue doing. And so we're fully committed to it.
Absolutely. Okay, well, if there are no questions at this time, Chuck, I'm going to turn it back over to you to wrap us up.
Thank you, Tricia, and thank you to everyone who joined our tour today. Let me start with Dylan. It takes courage to share your story, and what you did today was you put a face to what it is that is so important to us and to Judge Marcotte in Veterans Court. So we wish you the very best, and it's a privilege for Volunteers of America to walk side by side with you on your journey to get to where you want to be. And it's a privilege to support you. And Judge, just again, quickly, there would be no Veterans Court program if it were not for Judge Marcotte. So again, I thank you on behalf of all of the veterans who have journeyed through your program and are now back doing what they want to do. And by the way, it's hard, you come across such a nice guy, and you are, but you're also very demanding, and that's what it takes. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Chuck. We couldn't do it without y'all. That's the reason we have the program.
And finally, I want to encourage everyone to take the time and go to our social media, to Facebook, to Twitter. Tricia can, in wrapping up, share other ways to look at Lance's story. Lance is a graduate of the Veterans Court program. He was featured in our video at our Cherish the Children of God breakfast last year. And it's a very short video. You can go and you can see Lance's story. It'd be well worth your time, and you'll enjoy that. And then just a final thank you. Those of you who partner with Volunteers of America to change lives and to create brighter futures, we're truly grateful for your support and your partnership, and at this very difficult time, your prayers. So y'all take care, and thank you again. Back to you, Tricia.
Thank you, Chuck. Yes, thank you everyone for joining us for our second virtual Hope Begins Here tour. We hope you've really enjoyed it, and as Chuck mentioned, please be sure and go to our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages, you can search for us by typing in Volunteers of America, North Louisiana, and I will share Lance's story so you can go look at his story as well. So thank you so much, and we appreciate everyone for joining us. Have a great week.